Okay, let's talk about career again. This time I'm going to look at career from the perspective of asteroids. So when you're looking at the career in traditional astrology, normally what you look at is the midheaven, right, for the public reputation, and stuff like Saturn for whatever structure is there, as well as the sixth house cusp to describe your daily doings. And it is true that you can actually describe something like a mixture of the career and the job, or that thing you go to that gives you a paycheck, using those three things. But I'm going to argue that maybe we should look at some other stuff. Again, as I study the asteroids, I've uncovered some really heavy hitters here for the favored career. There's a difference between your career, your favorite career, and your job. Now, let me just skip down to the bottom of this here. It says does not automatically include these: Saturn, 10th house, 6th house, Mars, and Sun. We often look at these to describe the job or to describe your influence over other people in the case of Mars and the Sun. But I'm going to go ahead and encourage people not to look at that for their favorite career. And the reason is because the 10th house is your public reputation. It's how other people know you. But at the end of the day, that's just a label. It's other people forming boxes around what they've seen coming out of you. And really, if you're going to look at the 10th house, 4th house axis, you need to look at the 4th house. The 4th house is what you reliably draw out of yourself and everyone. The Imum Coeli shows up yet again. I've recorded several videos which talk about the influence of the Imum Coeli. It's not that I'm a big Imum Coeli fan, it's just that you are really good at making stuff happen around your Imum Coeli. I would recommend looking at this instead of looking at this. Uh, I forgot to put anti-Mercury, by the way, but anti-Mercury is another one. Uh, so anyway, the sixth house. The sixth house describes your daily doings, but I mean, then you start to constrain the details of your job, and that's the job. That's not the career. Okay, but the granddaddy. I mean, the major marker of what you do for a living of all of the asteroids that I have looked at, and I've looked at over 1,000, is Moultona. Uh, by the way, the names of these asteroids actually have some kind of significance. Moultona begins with molto, which, if you study Italian, means something like much or a lot of. And so this is your money-making trade. Where Moultona falls in your chart, again, by sign and duodecadate, basically tells you what you're good at and what you do for a living to have money come to you. We see the chart of Warren Buffett right here. Warren Buffett has got a Capricorn opposition. So what is that? Well, it's to level 3. We start at Pisces. 1, 2, 3, and it goes conjunct opposition. So this is a 26, and I write about this in the Full Spectrum Astrology Trio. But 26s are where you build up fans and followers. Technically speaking, Warren Buffett makes his money by building up fans and followers. He does other things. He's got an official label, he's got an official kind of job title, but this is what he does. Having people follow him for a living is his money-making trade. Moultona in your chart is absolutely killer for showing you what you do for a living to get a paycheck when you're doing what you want. The second one that's pretty decent is Laurentia. The reason you have jobs and opportunities handed to you, Laurentia almost makes things seem unfair. Stuff just seems like it comes to you for free in other people's eyes. It's kind of a cheater's asteroid. Not cheaters, but other people are actually working hard to win the race, and you're already sitting at the finish line, or you drove there in your car. Um, Laurentia's root, by the way, is Lawrence, crowned with laurels. It means victory. This is more or less where you win. If we see here, Warren Buffett has Laurentia in, let's see here, 1711 Aquarius. That's right there. It's the sextile version. So it's a level 2 sextile, or it's a sextile with an Aquarius background. And this is for long-range planning. Apparently, he has opportunity after opportunity to engage in long-range planning handed to him. And by the way, this is 17 Aquarius, as I mentioned in another video, which is where the US's moon is. So he's likely to be famous for his skills in long-range planning. and famous for basically getting stuff handed to him for free. And he's a bit of a rebel in that respect because he's got Lilith right there. Clarissa is your place of acceptance in the world. This is what people basically, this is where people basically accept you. They say, yeah, he belongs there. She belongs there. If you look at Clarissa in Warren Buffett's chart, for example, he's got a level 5 conjunct. That is a conjunct against a Scorpio background. And so Scorpio background means he's influencing people, and a conjunct means he's spontaneously, instinctually influencing people. This basically establishes him as being accepted as an investor. So when he comes in and he says, I think you should do this because I feel like it, the world's like, okay, Warren Buffett told me, I guess it's all right. So that basically explains his influence in the world and where people will just go ahead and listen to him. Ahrensa, I just really pointed this one out right before hitting the record because I was on a search for Moultona actually, and I forgot that I had described Ahrensa as where you appear to be on a quest for something that will never attain, but actually you keep spitting out the work. Instead of looking at the sixth house of Saturn or the sun or whatever, if you want to get an idea of your daily doings, take a look at Ahrensa. I don't know what the mythology behind this is, but I think of Aaron in the Bible, and Aaron's a priest. And if you've ever seen the movie The Ten Commandments, because I forgot how the biblical Aaron went, um, Aaron in the movie The Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston is, he's just like really working hard, like he's overworked, I think. And there's something about Ahrensa that does this. Um, Warren Buffett's Ahrensa is in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's an octile of Taurus. This is 11. This is a level 11 octile. So this is influencing people because it's an octile, right? Scorpio-like and semi-square and sesquiquadrate-like, right? So he's influencing people in the realm of values. Values, of course, corresponds to things like self-worth and money. So he's constantly influencing people in the realm of money making. And if you've looked at Warren Buffett's work and his strategies for durable competitive advantage, this is totally that. So he's on a quest for that durable competitive advantage, and it manifests through Ahrensa. And then, of course, there's the Imum Coeli, which I already talked about. If you look at these four, Clarissa is kind of thrown in there just to show that people actually accept you, but really Moultona, Laurentia, and Ahrensa are really, really strong for your favorite career. Now, before leaving this recording, I want to say something about career aspirations. So I've got Chariklo right here. Never mind the glyph that I use for Chariklo. It was one of the earliest asteroids I put in there, and I'm still using glyphs instead of letters. But this is ambition. Lots of times we have things that we think we want to do in life, and that's a whole other set of asteroids. That's not your actual career. It's what you want your career to be. So it's true that Warren Buffett probably has a mastery talent for structuring things, and it's also true that he may have some kind of ambition for putting his intuition out there. Those aren't his actual job, though. In order to do the actual job, you want to focus on the asteroids which correspond to the job, not to the want for the job. Now, let me tell you one other thing about how to activate these, because you may be in a position to where you say, well, I want to get into my money-making trade, but right now I'm doing something that I don't like. So what I would do, if you really want to activate these, is take a look at an asteroid which is known to get things right, and that's probably Veritas. Now, I haven't pulled up Veritas here, but if you did something like Veritas Moultona, that is the right choice. You'd get an angle for that. But there are other things that you can look up. Since I don't have Veritas here, let me take a look at Moultona Clarissa. Let's say that you've found your ideal career, but you haven't found how to be accepted in it. Warren Buffett wants to know, how do I get people to accept me in my career here, my money-making trade? Well, take the asteroid of acceptance, the asteroid of money-making trade, and then take a look at the angle that is between them. Now, these angles can get really exotic, and as I wrote about them in my third book of the FSA trio, all 144 aspects. And so if you're not familiar with this, it can be a little daunting because there's a bunch of angles that you probably haven't seen. Let's see if I can zoom in on this. Yes, all right, good. Okay, so if we look at Moultona here and Clarissa, we see that it is a septile against an Aquarius background. That's level 19, and that is friends. And so in order for Warren Buffett to get his money-making trade to line up with his acceptance, he's going to have to interact with his friends and his close networks. That just sounds so easy to me. I mean, really, it's like no work at all. It's like, oh, I think I'm just going to hang out with friends. And hanging out with friends apparently helps establish his money-making trade and all that. I read Tap Dancing to Work, and you can kind of see this. You can see this. But anyway, you can look at all these things, all these aspects to activate stuff. So, for example, if you wanted to know about that unending quest, which gets things handed to you, then you'd look at the angle for that. And this is an octile against a Gemini background, which means that he'd have the Gemini communication of his private influence, not influence, his private opinions, his internal monologue, aired so that he could steer people. So he says, this is my opinion, I'm going to give you some advice. And when he does that, he has a tendency to get things handed to him, but he does it a lot. Okay, so anyway, take a look at the aspects between your career family here, and also take a look at the sign and duodecanate of your career family as well, and it'll give you an idea of where you belong as far as a trader of skills is concerned in the broader world.